called China's response impressive, stunning, extraordinary, striking, disciplined, and successful. This guy sounds like Bernie Sanders when he praises Cuba. For some reason, this article right here in the Washington Post pissed me off. And especially the World Health Organization, who's supposed to help with health, says something like this. WHO praises China's aggressive coronavirus response, including authoritarian tools. Oh, yes. Gotta love the authoritarian aspect or side of this. The world needs to learn from China's response to the coronavirus, said leader of the World Health Organization, team sent to that country, while also criticizing countries for closing their borders to China. Really? What are they supposed to do? Just let people just cruise right in, not knowing what kind of health they have? Yeah. Epidemiologist Bruce Aylward devoted a sprawling hour-long news conference today, giving effusive, extravagant praise to China's efforts. Right. Despite widespread global criticism of its leaders, lack of transparency, initial attempts to censor reports of the outbreak, and the authoritarian tools it has times applied on its population to fight the outbreak. Yeah. Howard, chief of the WHO's mission in China, who spent last week in Wuhan, called China's response impressive, stunning, extraordinary, striking, disciplined, and successful. This guy sounds like Bernie Sanders when he praises Cuba. His team's tour through China was a result of lengthy negotiations with Chinese authorities, guaranteeing probably they gave him money, who resisted for weeks for allowing some international expert access into the country, especially the outbreak's epicenter in Wuhan. Alward's team visited Beijing, Guangdong, province of Sichuan province, before finally spending a day and a half in Wuhan over the weekend. Alward praised how leaders used big data, artificial intelligence, and surveillance tools. You mean drones telling people to put a mask on? Yeah. Developed by the government to monitor its own citizens and often criticized by human rights groups to tackle the outbreak. He defended China's repeated change without explanation in how it counts cases, to the frustration of epidemiologists trying to study the virus. Alward said the aggressive response China took, putting whole cities under lockdown, tracking the cases and contacts of 10,000 people with patients, mobilizing thousands of health workers and temporary hospitals, had huge effects in suppressing, that's a kind of a funny word to use right there, the spread of the disease, estimating that those measures prevented hundreds of thousands of people in China from being infected. Quoting from this chucklehead, they've done this at a scale, they know what they're doing, and they're really, really good at it. Yeah, killing people in the Great Leap Forward, about 80 million people. China knows how to kill people and suppress dissent and wrongthink. Countries are building barriers between themselves and China, but you need access to that expertise. Nah, I'm good. I don't need China, telling me how to suppress the population, because, China. Iran confirmed 95 cases across the country, with at least 15 deaths as concerns grew about the outbreak's spread through the Middle East. Meanwhile, South Korea reported 144 new cases of coronavirus, bringing the national tally to 977. A Chinese health official warned that at least 28 days without new cases are needed to be able to say an area is free from the outbreak, raising questions about how long it will take for normal life to resume. A fourth former passenger of the Diamond Princess cruise liner has died. Japan says 691 people on the ship have tested positive for the virus, although that figure does not include more than 20 people found to have the virus after returning to their home countries. Pompeo calls on China and Iran to tell the truth. Yeah, good luck. State Mike Pompeo calling China on ready to tell the truth about spread of novel coronavirus, and applauded the work of journalists who are risking their own health by covering the outbreak. Speaking to reporters at the State Department, Pompeo said the United States is deeply concerned that Iran may have withheld details about the spread of COVID-19 coronavirus. Yeah, I think they withheld information. All nations, including Iran, should tell the truth about the coronavirus and cooperate with international aid organizations. Pompeo also had critical words for Beijing, saying its impulse for censorship had led to quashing of news reports and warnings by physicians in the days after the virus started to spread. Although Pompeo was a frequent critic of news coverage of the U.S. foreign policy and State Department. He praised the brave reporters who were covering the spread of coronavirus with Wuhan itself. He said China's recent exposing of 3 Wall Street Journal's reporters after the appearance of a critical editorial in a paper exposes the danger of a common Chinese government tactic, namely censorship. It can have a deadly consequence, he said. If China had permitted its own foreign journalists and medical personnel to investigate freely, Chinese officials and other nations would have a far better prepared to address the challenges. The State Department has condemned reporters' expulsion. Pompeo said in part on principle, in part because the coronavirus crisis underscores the need for accurate information provided by on-the-ground reporting. Good luck on that one in China. We think the information flow inside China is a critical moment, he said. It's always important that we get good information from free press everywhere, but it's especially essential at a time where data and information matter because they provide things that go beyond the anecdote so we can respond in a way that meets the actual threat. Yeah. So in conclusion, for just this update, luckily the United States has had some cases, but no deaths. Other countries have not been so lucky. So what can be gleaned from all this information that's being slowly dripped and drabbed out is that, well, can't trust China. Definitely can't trust Iran. They're not going to tell you all what's going on because if it's going bad, that means for them, their government can't control the situation. If their government can't control the situation, then most likely they can't control the population. And if those authoritarian governments can't control the population, well, dissent may appear. But even then, I think Donald Trump has done a good job just for the United States, requesting $2 billion. And of course, Chuck Schumer said that's too much money. But then, like President Trump said, if you would have requested $1 billion, then Chuck Schumer said that was not enough money. So there's not much he can do other than try to get a cure, which is almost insane for a virus or that's such like the flu, the common flu. There is no virus. There's a vaccine that you can build a tolerance to, build a tolerance or immunity. But again, the virus has changed constantly, so you have to be like 2 steps ahead of it, but that's almost impossible. So again, hey, what else are we going to do? Far as I know, the situation in Italy has gotten kind of crazy. Streets in Milan have pretty much shut down. Grocery stores have been cleaned out for the most part. But, I mean, luckily people have kept a good head on their shoulders and keeping, not going crazy yet, but possibly best thing to do is make sure you have at least 2 weeks to a month of food ready just in case something happens. It's always good to have because always something can happen. But again, hey, I'll do another update probably tomorrow, maybe the next day, depending on what kind of information pops up. But stay tuned and keep your head to the ground or keep it on a swivel because stuff can easily break out into whatever. People like to freak out. So that's all you got to hear about that.